Hey guys, Canadian Zangief back again, and this time I got a real simple build. I've always been lacking something specific in my recent D&D games. Really been getting into it. Sure, we only play like every few months or something, but I'm having such a fun time making miniatures and making terrain and everything. But one simple thing is that is so versatile and useful that there was a serious need for it, and that's for making trees. Now, there's a lot of 3D printing tree options, a lot of pre-made tree options, which are all, you know, the 3D printing is not terrible if you have a 3D printer. The pre-made stuff is quite expensive, and I really didn't want to spend a lot of money on trees. And I wanted something that I could easily manufacture and just kind of do a whole bunch in a row. And you know, what I came up with is more Dollarama, you know, material, trying to keep the cost down as low as possible, and I'm pretty happy with the result. You know, these little sponge painted treated trees, you know, turned out pretty nice, and when you put them all up together, they look fantastic. So I'll take you through the steps and make your own trees. Let's take a look. Okay, so these trees, you know, they're relatively very easy to make, and all this really is just some regular sponge on a small wooden dowel on a cap with some gravel flocking, all at, you know, the dollar store, all Dollarama paint, everything like that. Super easy. So first thing, I picked up a pack of sponge. You know, just real generic, cheap, garbage sponge. This whole pack was like $1. This is going to be enough trees to last me to the end of time. I opened up another pack already, and here's one sponge right now. So you're going to want to cut this up, and just with some regular scissors here, and just like cut it up all the way across. I'm not going to cut the whole thing, but you know, cut off pieces like this into like kind of squares. I guess I should cut it up if I'm making a tree like this. You can be as messy or anything as you want. You know, try to be a variety of widths. You know, you got a thick piece like this, you got a thinner piece. You know, basically you're just making squares. That's enough for one. Okay, so next, you're going to have some wooden dowels. Once again, dollar store, super cheap. You're going to cut them to length. So you don't want it to be too terribly tall. You want to size it towards, you know, whatever scale miniatures you're doing. So let's see, that's what I do here, and it's about there. You know, the average 28mm character is about this tall, so you want it to be at least double the size, at least, unless you want to do really crazy giant trees. And you just, you know, this is just a little hobby saw. You just saw through it. Like so, pretty easy. So now you got to attach this to a base somehow. Now what I've been doing is taking just like water bottle caps. You know, me and my Mrs. Geef just buy the same water bottle big packs, and so we had a lot of uniform bottles to go from. Didn't want a bunch of different ones, so I got to attach this to this. So the easiest way to do that is to take a little hand drill and just drill out a little hole right in the center. Now, it depends on the wood that you have. These wood dowels seem to be very dense, and I had to drill them, but you may get off lucky, or you may not have to. You may not have to have a little drill like this. Like, I do a lot of little hobby stuff for years, and not necessarily Dungeons and Dragons related, but I had these little tools and stuff on hand. So I just got some generic thumbtacks here. Just take one out. From the inside here, you're just going to find the center and just push it through, like so. And then just push it down on top of the hole on the dowel you made. There. Now that's got enough support to stand. Now I'm a little bit, I like to make things last, so even further than that, I just take a little bit of craft glue and do it around the inside and around the top. Now the top part, I do it because it kind of makes a blend. It's not flush flat, like rod directly into a flat surface. So here's one that's already dried. So as you can kind of see, well, it's hard to see because of the light, but anyways, it's not, it has like a gradual change of elevation on it, and it's super strong. So what you're going to do now is you're going to take your foam, you're going to press on it and separate it with your fingers. So there's a tiny little hole. If you just try to push it through or cut it, it's going to be kind of weird. You know, do about halfway down or something like that, and then just do it until it fills up to the top. Now try to kind of go off each other's angles, so one goes this way and then the other goes that way. Just go all the way to the top. Don't worry, it's fine if it looks kind of messy. It's all going to be fixed up. Push it together, and one more, I think. Okay. There. Yeah, that'll do. So you're going to have this little part here that's kind of pushing halfway through. That's fine. This is actually a little bit bigger of a tree than I actually would have liked. Actually, this big block here is too big. I don't like that. I'm going to make this one. I like to have a little bit of the more of the tree trunk showing. So it's all relative to how long you make your wood dowel. That's better. Okay. So obviously this doesn't look anything like this for the shape and everything. So the biggest thing that I like to do with trees is I don't like them to look too cookie cutter. I like to have like a random variance to each one, so it looks like a whole bunch of different trees when you have it. Now, be careful when you're doing this. Do it somewhere where you're not going to be burning your house down or something like this. Mrs. Zangief does not like me doing in the house because she doesn't like the smell, but she's at work, so I got the house to myself today. So I'm just going to do this, and you're going to just carefully make sure you blow it out. If you accidentally set it on fire, think about like you're roasting marshmallows, you know. Also be careful if you set it on fire and let it burn for too long, that the synthetic sponge doesn't drip on your hands. You know, you're gonna get yourself a couple of burns. Also have some kind of mat you can put down on your table to protect the table if you want to do it at the table. I usually do it outside, but you know, I'm not going to get the best video from the outside. Whew. Yeah, make sure you blow it out pretty quick. So, since this is synthetic, it'll actually melt together a little bit too and hold it together. Yeah, this is not the best example for safety, but you know, hopefully you take precautions. This is not my first time doing this, so I'm a little bit more confident with it. But as you can see, it's becoming less like squares on top of each other and more randomized, just the way the fire has been flowing. There we go. That's just about done. At least that I'm satisfied with anyways. There we go, that's good. Okay, yeah, it's still smoking. Now after it cools down, you can't really just paint on top of this because there's a little bit of a sticky residue to it. So you have to actually add another additive to it. This right here is something I mixed myself. It's very simple. If you have any Mod Podge, which is like a superior white glue with varnish finisher, if you want you can also just use regular white glue. It also works. I just had a lot of this on hand. Mod Podge is more expensive than regular glue, so I wouldn't recommend just getting it just for this. If I make another batch of this, I'm probably going to use regular glue just because of the price difference. Now, if I don't think I can get this off. 1 second, I gotta put it under the tap. Okay, I'm back. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, since this is a lot of glue, it glues on the inside a little bit and it's hard to do. So let's give it a shake so you can see the color. So what this is just a generic scenery base coat that I use. It's just black paint and white glue basically mixed together. I'd say it's about 70-30, you know, 70% glue, 30% black paint. That's why it's that gray. So all you gotta do, let's get a little plate here to save myself from some of this glue mess. Just really sop it on. This thing, pardon the term, soaks it up like a sponge because it is a sponge, and you have to be really liberal with it. Just really get it in there. Now what this is going to do after it hardens, you're going to have to leave it rest for pretty much overnight. So if you want to do a whole bunch of these at the same time, it really speeds things along. Cover it totally, the entire thing, all the sponge, and right into the wooden dowel, because you don't want this to come apart on you, and you want it to get a little bit firm, because this will make it, since it soaks in so well, it'll make it harder. Like, it'll still have a little bit of give to it, but it'll no longer depress like a sponge, so you'll be able to paint it and dry brush it. And if it bumps around in your miniature kit or anything like that, it's going to retain its shape and hold on to the color. So I'm just going to finish this quickly. So here's one that's completely dried. You know, you get over the entire thing all the way. Now you're just gonna have to get some regular craft paint, paint the tree green, paint the bark brown. Now there's still going to be a little bit of it's still going to suck it up a bit, even though it's quite a bit harder now, but it still depresses, if you can see that. But this will still suck in a lot of paint, so use a lot. This will further harden it up a little bit because it's sinking right in. Now this, I don't even have to seal these, I find, because the paint sinks in so much to the sponge that if it bumps against something, it doesn't nick anything off. If you want to seal it as well, you absolutely can, but I'm already putting so much Mod Podge into it, I don't really want to use any more. You know, if I start using too much Mod Podge, it starts to get a little bit more expensive for me, which is another reason why I think my next batch I'm going to use regular white glue in this mixture. Yeah, don't have to be pretty with it, you just get it on there. You know, this is just a fast solution for trees that look half decent. You know, enough for your players to continue with their imagination. You know, it's all miniature scale, so it doesn't have to be bloody well perfect. No one's going to be inspecting your trees unless you're going to be doing some award-winning Dungeons and Dragons miniature making, which is not what I am all about. I'm about making stuff to play with, and these are definitely something you can use without worry about them getting damaged or anything like that, because, you know, you didn't put a lot into them and you made them yourself, you know. So there's a certain pleasure to that as well. So painted green, you paint this part brown, and then I'll just move on to this piece now because I've already finished it. So now we got the green done and the brown done. Now the next part, you want to get some white, and you're going to want to blend like a mint green with this forest green you got here. Whoops. Mint green. So you're just going to take some white here, do a little blob of white, and just mix a tiny bit of that green in, spread it all around. Now the reason why we're doing this mint green is to get a dry brush effect. So use whatever green you had, add some, you know, add a little bit to it. Mix it good so it's one solid color. And now I'm sure you already know how to dry brush. You just take a napkin or something and just wipe off as much as you can until your brush is pretty dry, and then you just go blah 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 blah. Whatever. You know, we're not here to win any contests. This is just for usable. Wipe off as much as you can and just kind of gently, just to highlight some of the edging a little bit, and you know, you don't want to spend too terribly much time with this, especially since the tower I made over there took me a bloody week waiting to everything to dry in every stage. So bam, there we go, done. Good enough, right? Well, a little bit more. There. There's a happy little tree. So now that that's done, you can use some flocking or some little gravel thing. Once again, got this from Dollarama. You know, $1.50 for this whole thing. This will probably last forever. You just put some glue on the base. Let's just wipe this brush off here. Take some of this Mod Podge here. And you just put it on all the way around. Kind of glob it on just because you want a lot for the flocking or sand or whatever you want to put on it to have something to really grip to. All this is going to dry on clear. So don't worry about leaving any white spots or anything like that. It's nothing you need to worry about. Alright, so now what you're going to do is you're going to take this off. Move this plate out of the way so I can move this here. So I got this coffee cup, and I'm just gonna like that. Give it a little shake, and there's your tree. It's pretty much done. The most amount of time it takes to make these things is just for letting it dry. And that turns into this. It's a quick and easy, fast way for you to make yourself a full set of trees for your gaming session. You know, you can do like 15 or 20 of these over a course of a couple of days, you know, and the biggest time is just letting them dry in between. But you will pretty much have those 15 or 20 all done at the same time because you just line them up and paint them as you go. Well, I hope you liked my easy little dollar store tree build. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.